Are there any drummers in the house?
I play percussion. That's because you couldn't play anything else.
Shut up. Come here, dude.
Hey, man. Do you touch my drum set?
Nope.
It's just weird, because seems like someone definitely touched my drum set.
Yeah, that is weird. 'Cause I didn't touch them.
I am warning you right now, if you touch my drums, I will stab you in the neck with a knife.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Drumheads podcast. My name is Daniel, and this is episode 56 with Elise Trouw. I hope I pronounced that right. I practiced a couple times before I started recording, so I think I got it. This was a wonderful conversation I had over Skype with Elise. If you guys are not familiar with her, she's a wonderful multi-instrumentalist based out of San Diego. She plays guitar, drums, bass, sings, all kinds of stuff. And she's only 17, so she is like, I'm telling you guys, put it in the books, mark it on your calendar, whatever you got to do. It's August 11th. Just mark that date. She's going to be big. She's going to be huge one day. Super humble, super just laid back, and, you know, just super, I don't know, it's just had like a cool, like just laid back vibe about her. Like, yeah, I can do all this stuff, but I'm not like, you know, in your face, like I'm the best, you know, even though she's way better than I am. Just saying. But yeah, go check out her new single, X Marks the Spot. It's just a very cool laid back track. She's working on an album, and this is the first song she's released. I just downloaded it. You can go to iTunes to download it. Just go to, just type in Elise, which is Elise, and her last name is Trouw, Trouw. And you can follow her on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all of it. Go check her out. Again, I'd just like to thank her for being on. We just had a cool conversation, you know, just talking about how we kind of are both like products of like a different era. I feel like sometimes I'm like, wow, I listen to music that was not of my time. Like I go back, you know, to like the Police, to the Eagles, and these older bands. And she's the same way. She was talking about how she's all, you know, really big into Buddy Rich and to Steve Gadd, Stuart Copeland. And I said in the conversation, like, it's like we're almost born in the wrong generation. We should have been born in the 70s. So it's super awesome. You know, it's just great to see, you know, young drummers, young musicians take an interest in, you know, the older music, but also appreciating and, you know, exploring new music as well. So I'm telling you guys, she's going to be like a next Tori Kelly or something. Just keep your eye out for her. And this episode, luckily, this is what I love about the podcast. I had someone, Craig Parton. He reached out to me on Facebook and, you know, just asked how I record my podcasts. And I said, well, you know, I just put it in GarageBand, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, you know, your mixes are off. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Thank you for constructive criticism. I love it. I love when people can tell me when I'm doing something wrong, because I'm totally winging it here sometimes, guys. And he was super nice and say, hey, you know, send me the files. I'll make it where, you know, it's not going to be, because he was telling me it was kind of loud in certain spots and to be super loud, super quiet, you know, in certain spots. And, you know, I love it. I love when people, you know, it's always nice to have somebody just like reach you and say, hey, look, I love what you're doing. You could do this better. Here's how. And, you know, you could, you know, some people be like, oh, why you tell me this? I don't want to be criticized. Arr! I'm like, oh, thank you. Thank you. I want, so if something's not sounding right, please tell me. I just know from my perspective, when I'm doing these edits, I'm doing them late at night with, you know, my headphones in, and that's basically what I hear, because I'm not like a, what would you call, I'm not, you know, egotistical when I go back and listen to the episodes, unless there's something I want to, like, remember that one of the guests had said, but, like, I don't go back and listen to the whole episode after I record it. So, narcissistic, there's the word. So, thank you, Craig, for reaching out to me and saying, hey, love what you're doing. Here's how we can make it better. And God bless, because, you know, yeah. So big thank you to Craig for just stepping up and saying, hey, let's make this thing better. I like what you're doing, but we can make this better. And you are correct, sir. So, yeah. And again, just thank you to everybody. I'm going to be cranking out a bunch of podcasts here in the next couple of days. I've got about 6 other podcasts lined up just this weekend. So cranking them out, son. Cranking them out. So I'm super excited about that. Look out for other things coming this way. So here it is, episode 56 with Elise Trouw. Hey guys, welcome back to the Drumheads podcast, and I am joined by Elise. How are you, Elise?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's a nice sunny day here in North Carolina. It's not raining for once, which is always wonderful.
It's also sunny here in California.
Yeah, you're in San Diego, so you have some weather that's awesome all year round. I envy you.
Yeah.
Are you a native Californian?
Yeah, I've lived here my whole life.
Lived here your whole life. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll just jump right into it. So just tell everybody about yourself, where you're from and, how long you've been playing drums.
Well, yeah, so I've lived here my whole life in San Diego, and I've been playing drums since I was 10, which is 7 years. I'm 17 now. Mm-hmm. I started piano when I was 6, so I've been into music for a while, but really got serious about it probably when I was 14 or 13 or so.
Did you come from a music family at all?
Not really. My grandma played piano and sang, and my mom played violin and clarinet in her high school orchestra or whatever. But my parents aren't musicians or anything. No. Oh,
okay, I hear you. Mine aren't either. They're one's like a mechanic, and the other one's a teacher. So music was kind of foreign to them. So I totally get that. Do you play in school band, or are you just pretty much just kind of like a studio musician, I guess, and live performer?
Well, I played in my high school jazz band for the whole time that I was there, but I graduated a year early. Oh, nice. So instead of my senior year, this year, I'll be taking kind of a gap year to pursue music and stuff. Okay. So jazz band, how did you like doing that? Did you play the drums or did you play a different instrument? Because you're multi-instruments. I played drums. Right. I played drums in the main jazz band, then played some bass, which is really tough because I can't read bass clef very well. But
okay.
It was great because it taught me how to read drum music because I didn't really know very well how to do that. So
yeah, jazz band is it can be intimidating. I know when I was in high school a long time ago, it was kind of cutthroat. People are always trying to one up each other. So it was not a fun experience at all for me, but I learned a lot from it. But different time as well, probably. So who are the drummers you kind of look up to?
I love Buddy Rich, Steve Gadd, Stuart Copeland, all for different reasons, obviously. Mm-hmm. Buddy Rich tops, and Stuart Copeland is super spontaneous, and he's a lot of fun.
That's Stuart Copeland is, you just said it. That's my favorite one. Actually, back here, I have his snare drum, signature.
Really?
Snare. Yeah, I love it. That's
awesome.
It's got a nice pop to it. And Steve Gadd, just because of his, kind of groove that he likes to lay down, you like his for that reason, or just other, other things.
Yeah, and his dynamics, and also just the beats that he comes up with are very interesting. Mm-hmm. And it's very clean.
So it's funny because you're 17. You kind of like some of the older drummers, which is interesting. Who turned you on to those drummers?
Well, my teacher Matt Lynott is really into those drummers, so obviously I'm influenced by him a lot. Mm-hmm. My teacher's Matt Lynott. He's drums for the White Buffalo.
Oh, okay.
He's another one of my favorite drummers, but
yeah, that's here. I got to mention that one. Yeah. That's cool. So he kind of said, hey, here's some drummers you should check out. And, you just kind of went and got their CDs and went from there, or?
Yeah, we watch a lot of their live videos all and kind of analyze what they're doing. And okay. I like to do that. Yeah.
Nice. And who are some of your favorite drummers right now that are up and coming, just out of curiosity?
I like Tony Royster Jr. and Josh Baker.
Josh Baker. I'm not familiar with him. Who is?
Who's Josh?
He drums for Mariah Carey.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And so did you? So I'm guessing, did you kind of ask your parents, "I want like formal lessons," or was that just something you kind of sought out yourself?
I started with formal lessons. It was actually kind of a funny story because we had the game Rock Band, and I was like drums on it all the time, and I'm like, oh, I should just do like real drums because that'll be a lot of fun. I was 10, and I was like, Mom, I want lessons, and so I kept bothering her until she like kind of caved, and then I started getting lessons. I lived in Fallbrook at the time with this guy named Dave Blackburn.
Nice. So with the lessons, was it teaching you all kinds of styles of music, or was it just just how to do the basics?
He taught me, well, obviously at first I learned the basics, so like basic reading and technique and stuff, and then we like look at other styles too. Yeah. Okay,
because I know there's some musicians out there, they like want to like throw jazz at you like straight out of the gate, and that's what happened to me. And the guy was just like showing me all these crazy licks. I'm like, whoa, slow down. Let me absorb this, and it never took. So I had to find like another teacher that was like more, okay, let's get to your level and then go from there. So cool.
Right. I started with like straight rock stuff, and then I didn't really know much jazz stuff until I actually joined the jazz band at my school. And
so and then you also play other instruments. So you play bass, obviously. Do you play guitar as well?
Yeah, bass, guitar, piano, singing.
Yeah, that's amazing, because I was just checking out your video, your lyric video for X Marks the Spot. Now, is that all of you doing like all the instruments on that song?
Right. Yeah.
Nice.
That song. The rest of the album that it'll be on is also like that. So all the parts and stuff are played by me.
Nice, because I was just listening to it. I'm like, I know that's her playing drums, and I'm curious, is it the bass and all the other stuff going on? That was someone else, or that was all you. Wow, that's impressive.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. And what I like about your drumming style is you're very you have like a very fluid motion to your drumming. Like a lot of drummers are very tense, and when you play, you're kind of like, woo, you're kind of, very relaxed. Was that something your teacher taught you, or is that just something that naturally comes to you?
That's how my teacher plays, but I've kind of always played like that. Like, not in the very beginning, obviously, but as I progressed, I just kind of would focus on the groove more than like chops and stuff. So it kind of helps me, like being relaxed kind of helps me be more in the pocket. Yeah,
it's very. I was showing a friend of mine. I'm like, just it's very fluid. Which is. It's hard to teach that or actually adapt that, because I get real stiff when I play. So is it just, how do you warm up? Do you just get behind the kit and just kind of slowly build up, or do you just go straight into it?
I'll just do whatever I'm feeling kind of to warm up. I don't really warm up on a pad or anything, but depending on like what I'm planning on doing that day, if I have like a certain video or certain song I'm going to play, I'll like play that for a bit, and if I'm like having trouble spots, I'll kind of do that section over and over again to warm up. Okay. But
yeah, that's cool. That's something I've been working on, is just trying to play relaxed, just kind of let the tension out and just, like you said, focus on the groove. Because when I was younger, it was about focusing on how my chops, how fast I could play. And the older I get, it's like, let's focus on the groove. I think that's, if you're wanting to be a musician and make money, it's your groove that's it's going to get you paid, and not, just going nuts. So
right.
That's a good thing to learn very young. I wish I had learned that at 17 versus 32. So yeah. So what is so out of all the instruments you play, what would be your favorite one? Or would that be like trying to like pick your favorite, child, or whatever that expression?
No, drums, that's definitely my favorite instrument. Like, obviously it's why I practice it the most, but it's like probably what I'm best at. I like bass a lot too, and I've really enjoyed like learning how to sing better, because like a year or two ago I really didn't sing at all. And so just like building that up and kind of seeing myself progress. I have like old recordings where I kind of don't sound so great, and then compared to like more recent ones, it's like fun to see the improvement. But definitely drums, that's still my favorite.
Yeah. With your singing, who are you kind of influenced by as a singer? I'm just curious as well.
Like artists and stuff, right?
Yeah, kind of artists, or you know, or if there's like a certain genre you like singing, you know, maybe both. I was because when I was listening to it, I kind of had like you, just kind of guessing maybe you like Sarah Bareilles or Sarah Watkins. You kind of have like a unique singing voice, and that's when I heard that voice, I'm like, it sounds, you know, there's some similarities between these other artists I like. So I was just curious, whose are those influences with the vocals? Right.
Yeah, I've been like compared a lot to like Regina Spektor and
that's the other one. Oh,
like, Michelson and stuff. But I honestly hadn't really listened to much of their music before I started singing. It's kind of just like how it came to me. I like to also listen to like older jazz recordings and stuff. But yeah, it's kind of funny because like my influences aren't exactly who I sound like for some reason. I don't know. It like sounds like I'd be influenced by Sarah Bareilles or whatever. But I like Adele and stuff. I obviously can't sing like that, but she's very like powerful and has kind of a looseness about her. That's very cool.
Yeah. No, it's funny that it just your natural singing voice, it just happened the way it happened, which is, you know, it's always interesting how, you know, even with drumming, you know, you think you're going to sound a certain way, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, I sound this way. You know, I love Stuart Copeland, but I don't think I really sound like him. You know,
right?
And it's just, you know, you develop your own style over the years, so that's cool. So, what kind of gear are you using? What's your current setup?
For my drums, I have a Pearl Reference series. It's a maple finish. I have 2 high toms and 2 floor toms. A Ludwig Superphonic is like what I mostly use. And then TRX cymbals and Zildjian. Okay, nice.
Is that Pearl been kind of your brand the whole time you've been playing drums, or you know?
Yeah, well, this is like my only my third kit. So like before this one, I had a Pearl Export kit, which was like nice, but this one's a lot nicer, obviously. But I mean, I like the Pearl, like the feel though, so that's why I got the Reference series. And then before that, I had, I think, like a little Ludwig jazz kit or something.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's kind of like it's 18-inch bass drum, kind of smaller. Yeah, that's cool.
Right, because I was 10, so I had to get something lower that I could play on.
Yeah, lower to the ground. Yeah. So and the cymbals, the TRX, I hadn't really played those. How do you like those?
They're very bright, so I really like how they sound live. They aren't my favorite for recording all the time because they cut a little too much, and I prefer darker cymbals for recording. But they have a good feel in general.
Yeah, and then you use the big fat snare drum sometimes as well, right? Yeah, I love that thing. It's such a cool thing to throw on your snare drum, and it like instantly you're like, you get these cool ideas that you didn't have before just because you just changed the snare drum sound, you know, that quickly, which is right. You know, I love it. It's one of the greatest things that came out in the recent years for drums was that, just, you know, throwing that on and getting a completely different sound, which is always fun. So so as a female drummer, I know, you know, because since you're 17, you probably haven't experienced a lot of sexism towards female drummers, probably, you know, generations before, you know, like my age and before had to face. Does that still seem to be prevalent, you know, in the drumming community, or is that getting better?
In some ways, because like there are obviously perks to being a female drummer because it's like easier to get noticed because it's still like a novelty in a way. So there are definitely still people who are kind of condescending at times. Sometimes even people who are like not really older but like more traditional like for example, I went to a 5-week program at a music college, and my teacher was like talking to me on the first lesson, and he said, "Oh yeah, it's really cool that like you're trying to be a drummer and stuff, but as a girl, you know, you don't have to do this." And I was like, "What?" I didn't really know how to take it, but it's kind of just a weird comment, and maybe he was joking, but it was kind of a weird joke then. Yeah, but
it's funny because you know people, you know, have preconceived notions about being a female drummer that, you know, you can't hang with, you know, the you know, the top guys and stuff like that, you know, and I think for a lot of guys it's insecurity. They can't admit that there's a girl drummer or a female drummer that's better than them. I can admit that, but a lot of guys can't. And I think once guys can start to just, you know, get over that and be like, yes, there are female drummers out there that are better than me, let's move on and just treat each other equally. I think that would be, you know, would be the best, but we still haven't got there yet because I think you're the 4th or 5th female drummer I've had on the podcast, and they've all had kind of the similar thing of like, yeah, it's getting better, but there are still those certain guys out there that like to say comments like you just said, you know, just little condescending things, and it makes you feel, you know, a little bit smaller, you know, like, oh, I've been put in my place kind of thing. So, you know, what would you say to a female drummer who's getting into like music, to how to, you know, push forward and, you know, break that gender, you know, gap, I guess you could say?
Well, that's a big question, but I guess just keep practicing and proving people wrong, because if you like listen to what people say, then you'll kind of fulfill that stereotype. And sometimes people will have really low expectations for me and then be surprised when I'm like good at drumming. And I don't think that's like an excuse to like not be good either. So like it kind of goes both ways, where like some people are like too they're kind of, I don't know, like the opposite of sexist towards female. I don't know if that makes sense. Like you get more attention from some people, and some people are looked down on you. It's kind of a both way thing, you know? Yeah.
And I like how you said you could surprise people, which I think that's always the best, is when you know, they're not expecting it, which is always, you know, super gratifying, you know, male or female, you know, when people look at you and like, oh, okay. And then they're like, oh, okay. That sounds awesome, you know? And then I think that helps break that, where if you're kind of more pervasive about it, like, I am good and I am a female, you know, you're going to respect me. I think that kind of pushes people away. But when you kind of just naturally let it happen, and just, you know, people are more, you know, susceptible to like not being biased anymore, which is, you know, always a good thing. But
right.
So back to your album. So is this is going to be your first, you know, kind of major album for you, or have you released stuff in the past as well?
No, first album. Yeah, I haven't really released anything else ever. So yeah.
How many songs are going to be on this album?
I'm thinking like 8 or 9 maybe, but it's still not quite finished yet. So I'll be releasing a couple singles leading up to it, and I'll have a whole thing. It'll definitely be like a full length album though.
Cool. And how are the other songs? You know, are they kind of on the same kind of line as the X Marks the Spot, or is it kind of, you know, go over different genres in the album?
There are quite a few. Like I do kind of the more acoustic thing, like X Marks the Spot, not really acoustic, but like live instruments. And then I also have songs that are more electronic that I do that I create on Logic at my house. And so I kind of have those two different genres, but they're all kind of like a softer alternative pop sound.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And and you perform live quite a bit too, right?
A bit, yeah. I've been like working on getting more gigs around San Diego because I'm pretty new to that too. Mm-hmm. I played at the Del Mar races at Lestat's, and like in the sports arena, but not like in the sports arena, but in the little lounge.
Okay, yeah, I hear you. I've done that. I'm like, yeah, I played here in the lobby, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And when you perform live, is there other members, or is it just usually you playing solo, or a mix?
Well, I have like always at least a guitarist, and then sometimes I'll have 2 guitarists and a bassist, because most of the time I'm drumming and singing, so I need something else there. But yeah, I'm like working on getting a more like stable band and for the fuller sound. Yeah.
So when it comes to singing and playing drums, how does is it get distracting sometimes trying to do, because you're doing 5 things at once. You've got both feet going, you've got both hands going, and then you're also trying to remember the lyrics to your song. Is that, was that super challenging at first, or did it just come naturally?
Well, I guess it was very challenging at first. I at first was like, no, I'm not going to do this. This is too hard. But I guess the worst part is like the rhythm of singing is very different than drumming, because like you're supposed to be very like consistent when you're drumming, but with singing you can be a little looser, kind of go over the beat and stuff. So then I would find either my drumming would get too loose and follow my singing rhythm, or my singing would get all like kind of robotic and like match the drumming. Oh, okay. So it's like you're kind of thinking about 2 separate feels at the same time, which is kind of a strange thing. But as long as like I remember my drumming, like I just leave it to my muscle memory and then can focus more on the singing while I'm playing live. Yeah,
that's it's there's not a lot of singing drummers. You've got Phil Collins, Don Henley from the Eagles, and there's a couple other ones, but there's not a lot of singing drummers. It's just not a popular thing. So to find that balance, I find drumming hard enough by itself. If I threw singing into it, I'd be like, it'd be a train wreck probably. So my hat is off to you for that. And so were you, most of your videos, like you post on Instagram, is that just like a home studio that you kind of created over the years?
Well, they're all in my garage actually. I just have like I just have some like acoustic padding around to kind of keep the sound from being too echoey, and have some like boxes around anyway, so that kind of helps with the sound. But I'm actually planning on moving to like more of a studio space to work on my music stuff, but for now it's just the garage. I was looking at the stuff on the walls because you got like some vinyl records, like you have the Police album on the album, blanking on it, Xenia Montata on the wall. I'm like, yes, it's the best album right there. So I always like to ask this question: what else do you like to do besides playing drums and then also singing and playing guitar and all that? What other things do you like to do in your spare time? I'm very into like video editing, which comes in handy because I post videos and stuff, obviously. But, And like I made a movie for my sister when she turned 18, where I like went and interviewed a bunch of family members and like took a bunch of her old family videos from tapes and kind of put it into one big video and like made a little soundtrack for it and stuff, which is a lot of fun.
Nice.
And I like running and walking and just like enjoying nature. I like reading a bit, but most of the stuff I do is like music oriented. Yeah. Well,
it's funny because I asked that question, and it's usually 2 things. It's either the drummer is all about drumming and that's it, or they're like me because I'm more I love drums, but also love movies and podcasts. Obviously, that's my other big thing. So it's funny just to see hear people's different things. Is no, I just love playing drums and all the stuff that goes with it, or because the video editing is is impressive. And is anyone else in your family a musician beside yourself? Does any of your other siblings play instruments or anything, or is it just you?
My sister like sings a bit, but not. She's not like trying to sing professionally or anything.
Mm-hmm. No. So it's just you.
Yeah.
So you just have the one sister.
Right. Yeah.
See, I have a sister too, and she doesn't do anything. She just she played like clarinet in marching band, but then it just never. That was it. So yeah, it's weird being the only child in a household that plays music, and because it's always fun to have someone in your house you can relate to when it comes to music. Now, do your parents like? Do they appreciate music? Like, like, oh, I love listening to this band, and comment about it and stuff with you, or my parents were kind of, like, oh, I'll appreciate your music and what you like, but not really talk about it. Do you have that?
Well, they appreciate music, I think, but they like over time, since I've been so into music for the last couple of years, they've kind of gotten more used to like hearing music as a musician would and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like we'll be listening to a song and I'll be like, oh, what do you think of the sound of that vocal or whatever? I don't know. But they've gotten more like tuned to hearing stuff like that, mm-hmm. which is kind of cool. Then I can talk to them about it. But yeah, I guess they're not like, if I want to go see a jazz band play or something, they'll be like, oh, go take one of your music friends. They're not that interested in that kind of thing. But
yeah. It's I was the same way. It's like, hey, do you want to go see, where I live here in Asheville, it's a very like hand percussion type city. And it's like, hey, let's go check out we have a big drum circle in our city, and people go and play hand drums. It's like 60 to 80 drummers just playing hand drums, djembes, cajones. Like, hey, do you want to go check that out? And they're like, no, I'm good. So like having to drag my friends on, and but it is what it is. But they're supportive. Right. But it's just an interesting thing how parents, they'll show support, but then you're like, come on, let's go do this, let's go, and they're like, I'm all right.
Yeah, no, it's the same for me. My parents are very supportive of everything, but they just aren't as into it, Mm-hmm.
And you went to NAMM this past year, right? Because, obviously you're in San Diego. You can just get over there real quick. How was that experience for you?
It was a lot of fun. It was a bit overwhelming at times, just like a lot of noise and stuff. But mm-hmm. I met a lot of people, and just getting to see everyone there was like really inspiring because mm-hmm. they were also into it. And it's not something that I can do all the time, obviously, mm-hmm. to meet up with so many people. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the next NAMM.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get out one year. It's just I have 3 kids, so it's like trying to figure out arrangements and all that stuff. But what were some of the things you liked that you saw at NAMM? Like, was there any kind of like cool drum stuff you were really digging?
Well, I actually got this thing called the Simses. I did like a review for it on YouTube. Mm-hmm. It was, I think at NAMM, they'd only been producing it for about a week. Mm-hmm. And so they hadn't really like gotten it to be mass produced or anything. So it's kind of like a sizzle for your ride, but you can like turn it on and off kind of. Mm-hmm. It'll like lift. And,
oh, okay. Yeah.
I've like had a couple videos, but I thought it was like really kind of cool because then you can, it's not like one of the beads that just kind of hang on your ride, and it's not like a permanent sizzle. So you mm-hmm. can kind of have it there when you need it, and then just kind of for the next song, turn it and it's like gone.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. I've seen that. That's pretty cool. Now, do companies start like wanting to start sending you stuff?
Because of
your growing popularity on Instagram or whatever, they're like, hey, will you try out our blah blah blah, or not yet?
Right. No, yeah, definitely. I don't. There are like some like makeup and hair and clothing ones too, but I don't always like.
Yeah.
I normally just stick to doing things that I think are cool myself. Mm-hmm. So I've had a couple of companies send me stuff. Like there's this cool cajon, like a snare cajon that I have. From a company.
Mm-hmm. I remember you were playing with brushes and like mallets and stuff. But,
right.
Yeah, and then what was that snare drum that you had? It was like a couple of months back. I'm for blanking.
Oh, the Kyrie drum.
Yeah. That was
it's a drum company.
Did they just send you one to like try out, or were they trying to like get you to be a sponsor, or what was it?
Well, they just sent me the snare to try out and see like how it goes. I mean, obviously it's like good for promotion. And then also I like trying things out and just it's fun for me. But that snare was really nice. But I mean, it's not always with the intention of like having me be like an artist just for that company. It's sometimes just for like working or like a post or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's a weird thing because, you have a bigger following than I do, but, there's random companies that are always like, hey, you want to try this? And, I'm like, they'll send it to me and then they're like, okay, do you want to keep it? I'm like, keep it for free or keep it for, money? Like, well, is it going to cost me? Like, oh no, you can buy it from us. It's going to be like $600. I'm like, no, thank you. I'm going to send this back. So yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's some people out there who they'll want to send it to you and like get you to try it and then hoping that you'll just buy it from them after you've tried it. Yeah.
I haven't got it at all, but yeah.
What and when it comes to your drums, what kind of sound do you like to have your drums? Like how do you like to tune your toms and your snare drum, or is it kind of a fluctuating for the song? If it sounds good on, I like a higher pitch snare on this song, but then I want to change it up for another. Do you do a lot of that, or is it just pretty much a standard tuning?
It does depend. Like I do really like having my snare drum tuned pretty high for the bounce and having the snares pretty tight, but not too dead sounding, just like a tiny bit of ring, because once there's like other music playing, it can get lost sometimes. But kind of like a drier drum sound, like
more vintage sounding.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, and then you like a nice, punchy bass drum, or kind of like a more, flat. Some people like that flat sounds for their drums. I don't get it, but to each his own.
Yeah, I like punchy, but not too. I don't like anything ringing out too long, like cymbals or anything. Just kind of. Some cymbals will just ring forever. I prefer ones that like you hit it and it'll stop after like 2 or 3 beats, right? Yeah, I mean, I like all sorts of drum sounds. I don't know. I just mess around with different things all the time.
Yeah. Are you one of those like frequent head changers where like you'll go through a couple months with like a certain head, like I want to try something different, or do you have like ones you kind of just stick to?
Well, I get like sometimes like free drum heads from different companies, so I like to try them out. But I don't change them very frequently because if they're like still good, I don't want to like change them and like waste them. But because I don't really play super hard, so I don't like break heads or break sticks very frequently. So I mean, if it's working for me, I keep it. Yeah, I
hear you. Some drummers I've met, they'll change their heads after like 2 months. Like, I'm like, really? I'm like, 2 months? That's when they start sounding good to me,
Right.
Yeah. And what sticks do you prefer?
I have been using ProMark lately. I like Vic Firth a lot too.
Yeah, it's one of those weird, like, there's certain things I like about this brand, there's certain things I like about that brand. It's like, it's hard to like commit to like one brand, I feel.
Right.
It's so weird because, you see drummers who like get sponsored and, they exclusively use Vic Firth, or they exclusively use like Remo heads or something like that. I'm like, how do people do that? Because, you know, on my kit right now, I've got like Evans on my toms, I've got a Aquarian on my bass drum, and then on my snare drum, I got a Remo. So it's like, how do you commit to one brand? I like cherry picking from all the brands. And
right, that's exactly how my drum heads are too right now. But yeah, I haven't really. I don't know if I'd want to be like fully endorsed by a company in like the near future, at least, because I just like trying out so many different things. I'm sure like people can still use them, just not really publicly. Like,
yeah, put a little
talk
tape
about them. I don't.
Put a little tape over the logo, and you know, yeah, it's you sound like me. You like what you like, and it doesn't matter what the brand is. So, yeah, and I'm looking at my my questions real quick. Who are some of the who are some of the bands you've been really digging lately? You know, some of the I know you being West Coast, there's some bands that we don't hear on the East Coast sometimes. And are there any new bands you've been really like digging lately?
New bands like
or just new music that you may have just stumbled across. You know, I know I do that all the time. Like, oh, I didn't know I'd like this band. Oh, they've been around for 10 years. Where have I been? You know.
Right, yeah. I mean, I listen on Spotify a lot to like the recommended playlist.
Oh, okay.
So I have like a bunch of random like one song from a bunch of different artists. But lately I've been getting into like Snarky Puppy stuff. But their one what's it called? Silva with the orchestra. I think it's really cool. And like Always Radiohead I'm into. But I don't know. Do you have like recommendations for a newer band I should check out?
You should check out Mute Math. Have you heard of them?
What's it called?
Mute Math. It's Mute Math. It's kind of like a I guess alternative, but each album they've done it sounds different than the last. You would really like the drummer Darren King. This guy is incredible. He's just like so old school, like Bonham, very like aggressive, but has like a musicality about his playing. I'm trying to think who else I've been into lately. I don't know. I've been kind of digging. I've been like falling back into like some older school stuff, like Tower of Power with David.
Yeah.
Gabriel. I'm like, oh, this is such a cool band, and they'll have it playing in where I work in the warehouse, and people are like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "It's Tower of Power. What's wrong with you? Check out this drummer. It's amazing." Yeah, you sound like me. Awesome. We were born in the wrong generation, I think.
Yeah,
I tell people that all the time. I'm like, I was really supposed to be born in like the 1970s because everything I listen to, people are like, "How do you know this band? You're so young, and then you're younger than me, and you're like, I love Radiohead. I love the Police. How do you know these bands?" And it's like, I don't know. I think I was born in the wrong time period. I don't know. Yeah, it's funny trying to explain to people. You just love these bands, age doesn't matter. You find these bands when you do and you love them. Because like the Police, they broke up a year before I was born. And I was so fortunate to see them when they did the reunion back in 2007. Yeah. So have you got to check out any of those old school bands that you've been getting into? Like, have you been able to see any of them live?
I saw Tower of Power live twice, I think.
Oh, nice.
One time Average White Band was opening for them, so that was like a really cool show for me to see. I saw Yes one time, Steely Dan. That was awesome.
Nice. Who was drumming with Steely Dan at the time when you saw him?
I have no idea.
That's all right.
I'm really bad with that. But
that's cool. Sometimes I blank on those drummers. I'm like, it's that one. Like, I don't know his name, do you look up to any of the female drummers that are, past or present as well? Like Karen Carpenter, she's so incredible.
She's actually one of my favorites.
Oh, is she cool? Yeah.
she's like known for her voice, but she was actually like a cool drummer too.
Oh, I love that video of her like playing on some variety show in the 1970s, and like her like switching from like kit to like timbales, and then she was playing like the concert toms and all kinds of cool stuff. And I'm like, she's such a credible drummer, you know. And it's, you know, it's a shame she, you know, passed away so young too. But she was also just a great musician. So yeah, I figured she'd be one of your kind of people you look up to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's really cool. I don't know if I've seen that video before. I'll have to go check that out.
Yeah, you have to go on YouTube. Like, go on YouTube and just type in Karen Carpenter. I think it's just drum solos, and she actually, I think she has Hal Blaine playing with her as well. It's like her brother, and then like the whole band, and then it's just like her just hopping around from kit to kit, and she's playing these old school like Ludwig kits that are the clear ones. Oh, this is so cool! Mm-hmm. Yeah, very 1970s for sure. So I'm trying to think, is there anything else you'd want to talk about? I don't know how much time you've got.
I'm good on time.
Okay. You're like, let me think about this. Well, let's see. Well, here's a question. What kind of does the future hold for you? Are you, since you graduated early, are you just pursuing music, or are you going to go to school as well and kind of do a combination of both, or?
Well, I'll apply to college for sure during this year. So I would be going like at the same time as my classmates. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like not going to senior year, mm-hmm. But my top choice is USC Thornton. Mm-hmm. Because my friends go there, and I've just heard it's a great program. And I did the Grammy camp last year, I think, and it was just one of the best times that I've had. Mm-hmm. And it's held at USC.
Oh, okay, yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So I was just like working on finishing up my album, releasing more singles and videos and whatnot, and playing gigs.
You thought about touring any? Like, have you thought about touring any? Like going up the West Coast or anything like that, or just kind of staying local?
I've been staying local for now, mostly just to like have experience performing, because I'm not like super experienced with singing live. I've done a lot of drumming live, but singing's pretty new to me, and also just like engaging with the audience is something that I'm working on.
Yeah, touring is I didn't really like it, but that's just a personal preference kind of thing. I don't like I'm a home person, so I like, being on the road for like a week or 2 weeks at a time was like, I just couldn't stand it, That's why I kind of like transitioned to doing like stuff like this and just, staying local. But some people love it. I guess it'd be nice to love it if you could just tour and have like the bus and all that. But when you're in a stinky van with like 3 other dudes, and, eating very poorly, it's not fun. But some people love it. Yeah. So what would you, in school, what would you kind of want to like major in? Or have you kind of like, just kind of figure it out later on?
Well, I'd want to be definitely part of the pop program at USC. But I'd want to focus on songwriting, I think, a lot, because drumming and like performance, like drumming performance is something that's like, I feel like I have more to learn in the songwriting realm. Mm-hmm. So that would be like more beneficial for me. And then also with like business and also mixing, just like anything to learn there.
Yeah. So when you edit your drum videos, how long does that usually take you?
It kind of depends on like how well I'm playing. Cause like if I play for an hour to get like 1 like minute of material, I'm going to be going through that. I'm like particular about what I post and stuff. So I'll be going through that stuff for a long time. But if I like get it done really quickly and I'm like, oh, that's the one, then it'll just take me, I don't know. It can take me like half an hour. It can take me 3 hours. I don't know.
Nice. And let's see. So you have a YouTube channel as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess your biggest following is probably Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I love Instagram. It's such a it's better than Facebook because when you're on Facebook, it's always just people posting about political stuff and nonsense like that. Most time, people on Instagram stick to whatever they're doing. So if you're doing things about drums, 9 times out of 10 it's about drums. So I like that, and it's a very cool, tight community. I like it. And I've met
it's very positive.
Yeah, it's pretty positive. I've met so many cool people through doing, the podcast and, reaching out to people like you and then other drummers. It's just, and then finding out, we can do Skype conversations, which was, the best thing I'm like, why didn't I start doing that sooner? I was trying to find drummers in my town to talk to. I'm like, why? Let's talk to people that, that have cool ideas instead of talking to Joe, the drummer who nobody knows, so I thought I was going to sneeze and I didn't. Sorry. Let's see. So I think that's pretty much it. Make sure I didn't miss any of the questions I had. I think that's it. So, plugs. What do you got to plug? Where can people find you? You're kind of everywhere.
Well, I'm on all social medias pretty much, but Instagram's where it all stems from. So if you're following me on Facebook, it's probably just my Instagram content, but I'll be having I have a couple shows coming up in September and October in San Diego, that are all listed on my website. And I have another single coming out very soon. I'm not sure exactly when, but probably in the next 2 weeks.
Oh, nice.
And then probably another lyric video to go with that.
And did you make the lyric video?
Yeah, so it's comprised of a bunch of people's photos that they submitted and hashtagged Elise Trouw and X marks the spot. And so it's the lyrics on top of those pictures, and I kind of just made it look as cohesive as I could, and I think it turned out really cool.
And
it's a really nice chance to kind of get into the lives of my followers and see their photos.
That's cool. Because I was watching it as well, and I'm like, these are some cool photos, and I'm like, I was curious, are these photos of of you and other things you've done, but it's actually your followers, so that's pretty cool. Nice.
Right. I threw a couple of my own in there, but mostly they're
Yeah. Sorry. I've been getting over a cold. It's yesterday and the day before I could not hardly talk. I'm like, oh, my voice, please come back by Saturday because I've got a podcast I got to record. And so cool. So what's the next single? What kind of vibe does it have? Kind of like a teaser, I guess you could say.
It's a bit more electronic than previous single. So it's not really a good indication of how the whole album will be, but it's just another style that I'm exploring because right now I just kind of doing a bunch of different genres and see what I like the sound of the best. And it's not really a dance song, but it's kind of got that four kind of vibe.
Yeah, you could if you want to dance, you could kind of vibe to it. Yeah, which is
kind of low key dance. But
and where in the lyrics, how do you come up with your lyrics? Is it just stuff you kind of pen while you're you're like, oh, that's a good lyric, and you write it down?
Sometimes that happens, and I'm really lucky if that happens to me because I'm not normally thinking that. But and sometimes I'll just forget later if I don't write it down. But a lot of the time I just think about experiences and other people's lives. So just the people around me. I'll be well, from this point of view, how would I write this song? You know what I mean? So just to have different topics all the time and kind of always have fresh material,
Yeah. Cool. Well, I don't want to hold you up anymore, but I really appreciate you taking some time to talk to me. love having different perspectives of different drummers, and you know, you being a female drummer, but also you know, you being on the West Coast, you have a little bit, you know, different sensibility than an East Coast person like myself. So it's always fun. And thank you for being on.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
So I'm gonna just hit stop real quick.